I said, God of heaven, great and awesome God, O Master, listen to me. Listen to your servant's prayer. And yes, to all of your servants who delight in honoring you. And make me successful this day so that I get what I want from the king. I was working as the cupbearer to the king. At the hour for serving wine, I brought in and gave to the king his wine. I had never been so upset before in his presence. So he asked me, why the long face? You're not sick, are you? Or are you depressed? That made me all the more agitated. And I said, long live the king. And why shouldn't I be depressed when the city where all of my family is buried, my hometown is in ruins, and the gates have been reduced to cinders? The king then asked me, so what do you want? Praying underneath my breath to the God of heaven, I said, if it please the king, and if he thinks well of me, send me to Jerusalem, to the city where my family is buried, so that I can rebuild it. Send me to the city.
The wall of Jerusalem is broken down. Its gates are burned with fire. The city where my fathers are buried lies in ruin. Throughout our history, people have been defined by their cities. We take pride in our soaring architecture, find community in our public arenas, seek prosperity in our business centers. We find inspiration and outlet for our music, art, and entertainment. We eat and celebrate and play in our city centers. Within our city walls, we find our identity. The wandering tribes of Israel had waited a long time for a king and a kingdom. They were tired of traveling in tents. They longed for the security and prosperity a city and its walls could provide. In 1000 BCE, God finally answered the Israelites' prayers by giving them the shepherd David as a king. He led them to defeat the Jebusites and seize the city that would become their capital, Jerusalem. Jerusalem became the center of the kingdom of Israel, both economically and spiritually, a monument of prosperity and peace for the next century. But in 931 BCE, a civil war tore the kingdom of Israel in two. Jerusalem became the capital of the new kingdom of Judah. A century later, Assyria attacked. They destroyed the northern kingdom of Israel. But in the south, the thick walls of Jerusalem held, and the kingdom of Judah remained free. Again and again, the wall held off would-be conquerors for the next 112 years, proving an instrument of strength and honor, until the Babylonians, under the command of King Nebuchadnezzar, broke through the once impenetrable walls and destroyed the city of Jerusalem. In the siege, the walls and holy temple were reduced to piles of smoking rubble. The Israelite survivors were rounded up, exiled to Babylon, and forced into slavery. 40 years later, a new empire, the Persians, led by Cyrus the Great, overthrew the Babylonians. King Cyrus told the Jews they could return to their homeland to rebuild Palestine. The city, which was so violently destroyed, lay scattered and maimed from the Babylonian attack some 4 decades before. So the Israelites, though still a captive people, began to rebuild their city. However, the once great city wall, their symbol of strength, protection, and prosperity, remained in ruin, and with it, the spirit and pride of the nation of Israel. Nehemiah, a Jew born into exile in Persia and a cupbearer to the king, longed for the homeland of his ancestors. He mourned when he received this report. Those who survived the exile and are back in the province are in great trouble and disgrace. The wall of Jerusalem is broken down, and its gates have been burned with fire. The news that the wall of Jerusalem still lay in ruin and that the city was in disgrace broke Nehemiah's heart. He knew his people had turned away from God, and God had fulfilled his word to them when he said, "If you are unfaithful, I will scatter you among the nations." Nehemiah wept and prayed for mercy for Israel. Then he remembered God's promise. "But if you return to me and obey my commands, then even if your exiled people are at the farthest horizon, I will gather them from there and bring them to the place I have chosen as a dwelling for my name." Nehemiah began to pray and plan. He humbly approached the king with a petition to rebuild the wall and was given great favor. He was sent to Jerusalem to rebuild the once mighty walls of the city. What is a city? Buildings, streets, people, a place of commerce, a provider of basic needs, a forum for human interaction and the exchange of ideas, a leader in progress and innovation, a definer of culture, a place for corporate worship, a place of refuge. But a city is nothing without walls.